Hello, Crayola. You are getting interviewed for MRTC DSM. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask a few questions in VC. Just answer them to the best of your ability. All right. What makes you fit for the divisional sergeant major position?
So the one of the biggest things I think that makes me well qualified for the position would be just my experience that I've had in the USMC in any division. As you all know, I'm in 3 different subdivisions, so I'm well connected with it, with the community. So I just kind of see what's going on. But from the main division perspective, I started out at a low position and have worked my way up. From being just a 1MD, team member to being a platoon sergeant, platoon leader, combat instructor, but before being moving to MRTC as an instructor, then head instructor and chief instructor. And I think just everything I've learned from, what it means to work in a chain of command, why that's important, just for the stability that it provides, how to take responsibility and learn the leadership principles by working your way up, and being higher in that chain of command, and how to be an effective leader in this group. I think I just having those experiences um, makes me a strong candidate for the position. I just think I have a unique and widespread knowledge base and foundation that would make me a successful divisional sergeant major for MRTC. And I think I've been here long enough. I've been here when Saya was CO through the leadership changes. So I think I have a good grasp on what we can do to make MRTC a successful division in the future, and just build on the success of the past.
Okay. All right. Next question. How could you benefit MRTC as the divisional sergeant major?
So one of the main benefits would be just continuing my high level of activity. I like to jump in Marine Academy pretty often. If there's a tryout of some kind, I just like to be seen, make sure that people, know who I am, not in a way that, oh, I'm like your boss, you need to know who I am. It's not like that. It's more of a, I feel like if they see me in game, that makes at least me look more approachable. That way, if there's any issues that come up or if they have any questions as far as low com, mid com, or anybody really, they know like, oh, I've seen him before. I can ask him for help, which I think is an important part of being high com is that you're able to provide help when people need it. Um, but as far as being, sorry, as far as what I would provide otherwise, other than just activity, um, would be one of the things would be a willingness to learn. I'm interested in learning more, as if I get the position, learning more about what's required, how to do the job well, how to support the other high com members, and how to support HQ. Um, I think I would also bring a sense of positivity and enthusiasm that is very important. Um, I think just throughout my time in MRTC, I've grown to like it more and more every day, every week, whatever time you want to look at. And it's just, I think I give off a positive um, viewpoint of MRTC. For people from looking from the outside in, I put off a positive light for MRTC, and in the same way, I put off kind of in a sense of enthusiasm for MRTC. Um, I've been here, like I said, been here through quite a few different things, and I still like it. And as DSM, I would bring that to HighCom, which hopefully would spread, that sense of positivity and enthusiasm throughout the whole of MRTC.
Okay. What is community engagement to you?
So community engagement, in a broad sense, would just be, communicating with the division in a non or in a less formal way than, in a division-wide meeting where there's, a actual formal structure to it. It's more the things like game nights, like a watch party of sorts, that as an example, just having a Q&A session, just being out in the community with everybody, and just making sure that everybody feels comfortable. Nobody really feels like outcasted. Everybody feels like they can buy into the overall mission of MRTC, and they can see what their position is in it and how they can bring us closer to the overall goals of MRTC. And what that would, look like I said, would be, maybe a game night, Q&A session, informal meetings, just checking in on people, and just really just immersing yourself in the community as much as possible.
Okay. Um, give me okay. So, do you have any previous experience in a position like this?
So I do not have any previous experience in a high com position, but I do not think necessarily that that is a bad thing. I think that I have the ability that some others may not, if they have had high com positions in the past, to bring a sense of just fresh eyes to look at any problems that are going on, maybe new solutions, just a new way of thinking of things. I don't have, it's impossible for me to say that, when I was high com in this division or in this completely different group, this is what we did, this is the only way that it's going to work, because I've never had to do that before. So I just bringing that new set of eyes, kind of that impressionable sense. I would learn the way that MRTC Highcom focuses or does things and how MARSOC HQ does things, and I would be able to just bring a new set of eyes to that with a new perspective that might be able to, bring a new solution to a problem that somebody maybe hadn't thought of, without being, predisposed to what I had been told is the only way that you can go about doing something somewhere else as Highcom.
Okay. Um, what is leadership to you?
So leadership, some of the most important things. Well, leadership definitionally is just how you can lead a group of people towards a common goal. But from a theoretical perspective, a few things that are important to me would be reliability, accountability, and leading by example. And just reliability, what that mainly is to me is, you show that you're active, you show that when you're needed, you're going to be there. If your midcom needs you for something, you're going to be there. If lowcom needs to go to you for something that they can't go to midcom, whatever the case may be, you're going to be there and you're going to be consistent with that. Um, the second thing was accountability. You have to be accountable to be a leader. If you can't hold yourself to a certain standard and then you go to try to hold others to that standard or to a higher standard, that's not going to work. People are not going to respect you and your command will fall apart. That's the last thing that anybody wants. If you're put in a position of leadership, the last thing you want is for your leadership to fall apart, because then that reflects poorly on you, and that's the last thing that I would want to have happen. For that reason, like accountability is a very big thing to me. I try to keep myself accountable kind of to a higher standard than I hold others, just because I know in a leadership position you're very visible, which is that last point it kind of ties into, is that leading by example, right? So, leading by example, anything that you do, you try to do it to the highest level of accuracy, consistency, whatever it is that you want to call it. You try to do it better than anybody else does, not to beat somebody, but just because you're in a leadership position, people look up to you as, how do I do this? Well, he's the divisional sergeant major. Let's see how he does it. So everything that you do, you have to do it correctly. You have to treat people with fairness, and you have to be unbiased in any decision making, and that's a big part of it, of leadership. So just all three of those things together is, that's what I think makes a good leader and what leadership should be.
Okay. Um, What uh what do you think makes you a good leader?
So I think, I have a certain sense of patience and the ability to be, like, disciplined and self-controlled. Not that others don't have that ability, but I just think that I have a certain level of that ability. Like, I don't it's not that I take forever to do anything. I just as far as patience goes, I understand that some things just take time, and that's not really a problem to me. Like, some things, if you want sometimes you want things to happen right away. You feel like if you're in a leadership position, they should, because, you're in a leadership position and you want it to happen, it should happen, and sometimes that's just not the case, and I can understand that. Right, so just the patience of understanding that sometimes things just take as long as they do, whatever it might be, that just doesn't bother me, and that helps me stay disciplined in what I'm doing so that I'm not constantly worried about, "Oh, well, when is this ever going to happen?" Or is anything going to happen with this? And that discipline kinda ties into the accountability and leading by example that I talked about earlier. To lead by example and be accountable, you have to be disciplined in what you do. If you don't have any self-discipline, then you're not going to do things to the highest standard, and you're not going to do things better than than you expect other people to, which it would be a big problem as a HiCom member, as a leader. You can't have that happen, and that also ties into the last point, being self-controlled. I don't get into I don't put emotion in any decision making that I do. Anything like, whether it's promotions, demotions, handing out any sort of, punishment, recommendation, whatever it is, I just like to look at things factually, not get too hot-headed about anything, because if you do that, then you lose your patience, you lose your self-discipline, you lose the positive, viewpoint you have on things, you stop looking at the team values or the group's values, and it all starts to kinda go downhill from there, and I just think I have the ability to stop that from happening with at least with myself.
Okay. And finally, do you plan to remain dedicated and active to MRTC if you get hired?
I do. I've been in this, division longer than any other. I was in 1MD for around a month, moved my way up through that division, then came over to MRTC. This has been the most fun, most enriching division I've been a part of. I have no plans to leave. I don't really see why I would. It's just the most fun one I've been in. I like it. Regardless of if I get the position or not, I don't see myself leaving. And of course, if I was able to get the position, um, then I would be able to commit to whatever time frame is required. If there's something months down the road that we need to take care of now or start looking at now, I would be able to commit to seeing that all the way through. So I don't have any plans of leaving.
Okay. Um, that's all. Hammer, if you have anything to add.